Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to another episode of Jacob Walks Over a Bridge. I'm Jacob. I'm currently walking over a bridge. And can you hear me now? I realize that sometimes it might be worth listening to whatever I record before posting it online for viewers to listen to. Well, I guess you're not a viewer, listeners to listen to. One of the last episodes I put, I guess if I had to remember, maybe 33. It was like 20 something minutes long, and it was me walking over the Queensboro Bridge, and all you could hear was everything else. I don't know what the deal was with that. It might be the headphones I'm using and how the microphone in them decides which noises to pick up, because you could hear the traffic pretty well, and I'm speaking literally maybe an inch or two, like I'm holding up the mic to my face right now, and I'm maybe like an inch or two away, and maybe the whatever software is in the hardware of the mic decides, oh, that's background noise, don't need to include that. Because I've walked over the Queensboro Bridge before, many times, with a few different mics, and I don't think I've ever had the problem to the extent that it was. I actually, so my dad listened. Hi, Dad. One of my most dedicated listeners told me that on the last episode before I went over the Queensboro Bridge, which I did 2 Queensboro Bridge episodes in a row, he told me, or no, I think actually it was this bridge that I'm on now, the Williamsburg Bridge, going the other direction. I'm going from Manhattan to Brooklyn right now. And then I was going from Brooklyn to Manhattan. But, he said he could barely hear me, so I decided to actually, after posting that episode, listen to it. And it's, if you ever watched Contact, the 97 film with Jodie Foster, it reminds me of when, when she was only, in the machine or whatever device. We watched this in the 6th, my 6th grade teacher put this, which is kind of silly to think about. But in class, the 6th grade math science teacher had us watch Contact. Don't remember what the specifics were of that. It's hilarious to think about that now. But we watched it in that class, and I remember, I don't know, she was like in some sort of machine to try to contact aliens, and to everyone else it seemed like she was only in there for a short while, but she recorded a lot of like however she was in there for a couple hours, she recorded a couple hours of static in whatever she was recording. So it's kind of like that in a way, I know it took me about 25 minutes to cross the bridge while talking to myself. No one will know how mad I was about everything ranging from IKEA to baseball. That was really it. I was just mad about IKEA not having Froyo, and they didn't have it again. And I was mad at baseball for a number of things, and even more reasons to come. If I had only known how disappointing the MLB ballpark app would be. But yeah, I don't know if you can hear me or not. I'm going to pretend like you can. This will be my last bit, because after that episode on the bridge, I also did 2 more. One on the Pulaski Bridge and one from the Shea Bridge in Citi Field. That one didn't really go into much of a plan. It's just chumming around with Jared Tyler, but yeah, that one was as I wrote in the description, a hot mess. You could hear me talk through there okay on those bridges. Maybe it's just because of the lighter. Well, Citi Field was loud, so I don't know what the deal is with that. I'm doing my best trying to hold the mic as close to my face as possible, so that way there's the least amount of interference. But if I'll listen to this one after posting again, and if it has the same issues, then I'll try to change the input hardware. I mean, there's a few options. I can go back to the Apple provided headphones, which are not great. They don't stay in my ears, and honestly, the sound quality out of them, subpar at best. I just can't really hear, like, even when I do have them jammed into my ears, I can barely hear what's coming out. I always have to have it on full blast. Not my favorite headphones. That's why, I mean, I don't think I would be that person that got them in the first place, but you know, the AirPods that they have just don't appeal to me because, one, well, they look kind of silly. They remind me, there's the Ninth Doctor Who episode where they go to some alternate dimension version of London, and everyone's wearing these what look like now like Bluetooth headsets that then turn into mind control devices and turn them all into Cybermen. So not that I'm afraid of that outcome, but they look silly. But I'm afraid that they would fall out, and if they fall out, they're a nightmare to recover, and then if you only have one, then that's an issue. So there are a lot of issues with that, and then you just look silly if you combine, if you put a, like some kind of, I guess, a connector, chain, necklace, what have you, on it. That kind of just defeats the purpose. And then I'm afraid they're just not going to sound good. Maybe it's just my ears, too, because I don't think this is a common criticism of Apple headphones in general. Or maybe it's just me and my weird ears. But I could try, for the sake of this podcast, I don't really have to have the headphones in my ears. I could just, hold the mic. Though it's nice to have the headphones when I'm listening to things before and after. I was walking over, I was listening to the Mets game on the radio. They had an early game today. Though very frustrating how I've been playing lately. It's not been great, but it's still relaxing enough, as now it's like about a 5-mile walk from my apartment to the bridge, so help pass that time. It's a nice, easy thing to listen to. But I could go back to that. I could go no headphones and just hold the phone up to my face for however long, and talking just into the mic that's built into the phone, which is an option. Not sure how that would sound. I mean, I could always test these things out, without speculating. And then I guess the other option, way back when I interviewed Brandon Mancho Boy Grummet, he bestowed upon me a microphone. It looks like a real microphone that plugs into the headphone jack of a device. That's the only thing, though, is that it would be not the greatest for the current iPhone that I have, because without a headphone jack, I'd have to use the dongle, and then I feel like that microphone might be too heavy for the dongle to it would just might fall out, or I would also just kind of look a little weird. Like, how do I hold that? I don't know. Like, if I was just recording this at home, maybe it'd be one thing. I just put it on a table and forget about it. But I don't know how practical it is for walking. If I had to, say the device that had a headphone jack built into it, then that's another story. Maybe I could record on the Zen, see how that comes out. That would be funky. That 13-year-old device. I don't know. Is it 13? Well, yeah. This year it turns 13. Got that in October of 2008. Yes, 2008. Final answer. But I still do love the Williamsburg Bridge, because at least the size of the walkways are pleasant. You don't have to worry for for the first stretch of the Manhattan side, you have to worry about the bikes, but then for the whole rest of the bridge, you don't. The bikes are on their total different side. The walkway's nice and large. It feels like the trains don't come as often as the Manhattan Bridge. They're also not level with you, so the sound isn't as abrasive necessarily. Still a nice bridge. It's mostly cloudy today. Little bit on the humid side. High 70s perhaps. I'm schwitzing a little, but when am I not? Well, I'm not when it's nice and cool. Really looking forward to those days when it's like a sunny day, high 50s, low 60s, and those days can't come soon enough. Summer was great and all when I had off from school, and birthdays didn't just mean you're 1 year closer to kicking the bucket. Here's some trains. How nice of them to come 2 at a time. Yeah, I think I'm, really a pure fall guy now. Love the fall. Best weather, bar none. And I'm one of those rare people who really doesn't mind a snow day. Maybe it's because I don't have to shovel snow anymore, given that I live in the city and I was taken care of by supers or whoever else runs the building that I rent. But, there's still something nice and relaxing about a nice snow day. Oh, sorry, I'm yawning. Oh, just hit 6 miles. Nice. Definitely was slow out of the gate today, partially because I left around people's usual lunch breaks. So everyone, we're in smoke breaks, so there were a lot of people in Midtown when I was walking through Midtown. Also saw my sister as I was walking, spontaneously I saw her, coming out of the park with her dog. So stopped to talk to her for a bit and play with Boots. Was very excited, as he always is. It makes me feel nice to feel the love. But once I get going, and plus when you first start walking, you're not always booking it right out of the gate. You got to warm up. So I think I'm pretty warmed up now. Walking at a pretty solid pace, and I know that there are some people who like to keep track of their walks through the city who will, if they're keeping really tracking it on a smartwatch, they will pause every time they hit a stop sign or a red light or traffic, just to keep track of the true time that they're walking. I'm not one of those people. Oh, yawning again. I'm sorry. I thought I slept all right, but what are you gonna do? But I like to keep the real time that I've been walking. Helps me keep track of, okay, this is how long this walk. Pretty much I'll pause it if I'm stopping in a store or peeing or eating or something like that. If I'm taking a break for a significantly longer period of time, like I didn't, but I probably could have paused it when I was talking to my sister. But I've just been, let it go. I'm at 2 hours and 3 minutes now of walking, and I feel pretty good. It's been a fun time. I've had the last 2 weeks or so off, and I've gotten a lot of walking in. Don't feel that bad. Not much worse for wear. When I tried going for a run yesterday morning, I probably did feel the weight of the walking a little bit. I wasn't as spry as I've been previous runs. I still was able to run about as far as I would have liked to, but it was a struggle, and I was able to push through, which you're really not supposed to do necessarily when you're going for a run or really, any physical activity. I've hurt myself before trying to push myself past what my limit should be, and nowadays I'm generally good about not hitting my limit. I always keep some reserve left in the tank. What I always found interesting about endurance is my endurance has never been great necessarily, but I always found that different sorts of exercise draw from different pools of whatever stamina you have in reserve. Let's say I'm walking, right? People say, "Oh, how could you walk that much?" And I guess that's just me pushing it, and maybe I just have a high stamina for walking, but running, I was never that. Walking endurance and running endurance are two different things. Like, I can walk 20 miles, but then, in a bubble trying to run a mile, it's a challenge. But also, let's say I've walked 15 miles, and I'm pretty sore, but as well as I know my body, I know that once I hit the 15-mile mark, someone said run, I could probably run for maybe half a mile before collapsing. Not collapsing, but before really needing to stop and dying of, no death. I would not run myself to death. But you get the idea, where even after doing all that walking, I know that I'd still be able to, not as far as I might be able to, fresh off the whatever, fresh without having walked that much. With fresh legs, I'd be able to run further than after walking 15 miles. But what was I going to say? I don't know why I'm getting so lost thought now. But yeah, so the endurance is just, it's different. And maybe that's just my mind. I'm usually I like to conceptualize things about the body that may or may not be true, but just help me get through the day-to-day, and maybe I just have a warped understanding of how the body works when it comes to physical activity. But I don't know. But now what I'm really mad about, if I want to go back to talking about all the things I'm mad about, Pokemon Go. The thing I'm not playing right now because I'm over a bridge, and bridges traditionally are not good places to play Pokemon Go. But they recently, at the beginning of this month, made a change to the game to revert back to how it was before the pandemic, whereas they made the game easier to play from, a stationary position, so like in your house or home. They made it easier to play without having to go walking, which was nice. It definitely made the game a little more, I'll say it made the game more enjoyable, just because it was, easy to play from my couch and do more, that more stuff was within reach. But the developers behind Pokemon Go, Niantic, in their infinite wisdom, decided that now, because numbers were going down and people were getting vaccinated, that they would go back to the way things were and make people go outside and walk, which, that just follows the trend of companies and politicians, celebrating victories before actually securing victories. Yeah, the time was probably not right for this change, and not many people are, no one's happy about this. Especially maybe, I don't know who would be happy about it. Everyone's mad. So much so to the point where they even dubbed, a group of players dubbed today Pokemon No Day. And one of my friends, Deb, who is an avid player, forwarded a petition that I will sign once I get home. Change.org petition to get Pokemon Go to fix itself, go back to the way things were. Because I've been playing the last couple days. I played a little bit today before realizing that today was supposed to be the day we were all going to boycott, so not playing for the rest of the day. So it's unfortunate because it'd be nice to play while going on such a long walk, get a lot of kilometers in. The game likes their metric system. But I am going to do my best to stick with the community, another term they like, to make sure change can happen. Oh, here's this bozo bike. It's not supposed to be a bike. But, so if anyone from Niantic listens to this podcast, I would like to remind them that the pandemic is far from over and we should go back to the way things were. Thank you. And thank you for listening to my podcast. Don't know how much longer I'll play Pokemon Go anyway. I mean, if they did or didn't change the distance. I've done most of the things you can do in the game, barring some of the goals, the medallions you can get that feel unattainable or would take years to get. I've caught all the Pokemon, especially the ones I already know. They're gonna always be making new ones, and they're releasing new ones, and it's, I've stuck with it through lots of the generations that I wasn't familiar. When I was playing originally, for the first couple of years, it was nice because I knew all the Pokemon, and then sooner or later they were, I stopped playing when I was at a certain age, and Pokemon kept going. And I've stuck with it, and I've tried to enjoy it. I've learned the new ones, and while I don't respect them as much as the ones from my youth, it's they're both with it. No, she had headphones on. She had the AirPods in. She couldn't hear what I was saying. But certainly, they're almost at the end of. There aren't infinite Pokemon, and it seems like we're almost at the point where we're near the last generation, and then what? I guess they have enough events and things going on that keep it interesting for us who've been playing forever. But, we shall see. But I'm going to cut this short because I am nearing the end of the bridge. Hopefully you heard most of what I was saying. If not, it'd be very sad. And I'll need to investigate new ways to do this. Especially, well, not especially, just because, what's the point of a podcast? I think it's funny to have those on there for the ones that are just static, and, but they can't be every episode, or else it's just, I don't want this to be known as the static podcast. But anyway, I reached the end. I need to go look at Google Maps to figure out where I'm going now. So, as always, good day, good night, and all that jazz.